Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Tuesday Night Music. I'm especially excited for this week's presentation as I take a little bit of a field trip. Rather than performing these selections in my home as I have been doing, I'm going to perform these selections for you at Central Baptist Church, the church that I serve and worship in. So you'll get to hear me play the instruments that I use on Sunday morning. The organ selection I'm going to perform for you this week is a brand new selection. It's one that I wrote on Saturday, as a matter of fact, for use in service this past Sunday. And it was for that kind of softer, reflective, meditative portion in the service that I've described that we do from time to time. And so the idea was to create a selection that would kind of draw the congregant in to kind of focus on the words and the scriptures that had been offered up. So this selection has kind of a relaxing kind of beat to it, a very flowing, rolling kind of accompaniment to it. And the melody is rather simplistic in its presentation. But as I've shared with you all before, I truly believe that there is beauty in simplicity. I hope you enjoy it. Here is Keep Me Safe, O God. So, were you able to figure out whether or not I had a flute or a flautist friend of mine, somebody come and play the flute along with me on the selection, or was this something that the organ generated? The answer is going to surprise you, but this is actually an instrument that particular organ is able to generate. To kind of give a little bit of a background, both the organ that I play here at my house and the organ at church are both built by the same company. It's an Italian company called Viscount. And really the only difference, or the main difference between the two is about 10 years. So the organ I play at home is about 10 years older than the organ I play at the church. And As anybody that has ever owned a computer can tell you, 10 years is a long time in the technology world. Just some of the technological feats of that organ, and in particular the company that developed it, just allowed for the newer organs to sound even more realistic to pipe organs in terms of their typical organ stops. But that organ has a very special orchestral sound card inside it that generates some really, really very realistic sounds. So don't feel bad if you thought that I actually had a flute player friend of mine come and play. I've often had members of my church come up to me and ask if there was a solo flutist or flautist that came and played, because it just sounds so realistic. And next week, you're going to get to hear another selection that has a very realistic sounding violin stop. It's you're pretty hard pressed to tell, in my opinion. I think you'll enjoy that. So back to this evening's presentation. The second and final work that we're going to sort of close out with is a piano selection. It's been a little while since I've performed piano for us here on Tuesday Night Music, and I thought it was time to add a piano selection into the rotation again. This is a selection I wrote actually several years ago, back in, let's see, I believe 2017, 2018. So it's been a little while, and to be honest, I haven't performed it in quite a while. Those of you that maybe purchased my piano album, Just Beyond the River, will be familiar with it because it's one that is on that album. But just for whatever reason, I haven't had opportunity to perform it. It's a very nice work. I'm very proud of it. I like the way that it turned out. And it's called Everlasting Love. And it just has, in my opinion, a nice melody. I try really, really hard to write melodies that are pleasing to the ear. Obviously, you, the audience, are really the judge of that. But this is one of those that, in my opinion, the melody itself is very nice. When I'm looking for music, I'm attracted to melodies. And so, like, if a new work that I find, I start playing through, 4 or 8 measures or something like that, and if I'm drawn into the melody, I'm far more likely to want to actually work it up, even if it's, say, beyond my technical abilities. I'll spend the time to work on it, because a good melody just is, it's a great hook, I think. So with all that said, I'm very pleased with the way this melody turned out. It kind of has a warm sense about it, but also what I would describe as a sense of longing and yearning. And so for me, that's the characteristic I look for sometimes in a melody. So I hope you enjoy this. It's called Everlasting Love. And as always, stop back after that and I'll close us out. Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. And as I mentioned previously, I had intended to just kind of do this series as sort of a one-off. Started it in August and had intended to just end it in August, but those of you that have been tuning in on a regular basis indicated that you liked the format and was hoping that I would continue with it. So I'm delighted to do that. I'm always delighted to perform my music for anybody that's interested in listening to it. It's a lot of fun to write and create and to play even, you know. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Once again, if you would, on YouTube and Facebook, hit that like and subscribe button. Something else that you could do for me too that actually would help, I should have probably mentioned it at the top, but as I do these presentations, if you will go ahead and share these videos on your own timeline, that'll allow, say, your friends to see these videos, and then maybe they in turn would want to become fans of mine, as it were, on YouTube and Facebook. And so that's something that if you would be willing to do, would be a great help to me. And then, of course, finally, as always, your financial support is welcomed. It's not required by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want anybody to feel bad. But if you like what you heard tonight, or you like what I'm doing, and you want to sort of kind of make a contribution, like in a virtual tip jar, if you will, you can do that by going to bjmeyermusic.com/donate, and you can throw $1 or $2 in that virtual tip jar, and I'll be forever grateful. Thank you so much, and until next week, good night.